Only 15% of private sector workers have a traditional pension today. If you're watching this worried because you don't have one, you're not the exception. You're the norm. 85% of workers are in the same boat. No pension, no guaranteed check for life. And most of them are making retirement work anyway. I'm going to show you 3 strategies the data shows working. None of them require a 6-figure salary. None of them require perfect timing. You don't need to be lucky. Here are the 3. Social Security, retirement accounts, simple math. That's it. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you isn't theory, it's what's actually working right now. So if pensions are gone and most people don't have them, how is anyone retiring? I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't personal advice, but I am going to walk you through what the data shows about how people without pensions are actually retiring. Start with what you actually need.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, households age 65 and older spent an average of about $58,000 per year in 2022. Round it to $60,000 for comfortable living, not luxury, just comfortable. Social Security. The average retired worker receives about $1,976 per month as of January 2025. That's roughly $24,000 a year, which means Social Security covers about 40% of that $60,000 budget. You need to find the other $36,000 somewhere. 40% of people aged 55 to 64 have zero saved in retirement accounts. Nothing. But 40% having nothing doesn't mean 60% are failing. It means there's a divide. Some people know something others don't. The gap is real. The question is, how are people closing it without a pension check?
The answer is in 3 strategies, and the first one is simpler than you think. In the early 1990s, 35% of private sector workers had a traditional pension. Companies were responsible for your retirement. Then, over 30 years, corporations shifted that responsibility to you through 401ks and IRAs. Was that fair? Debatable, but it's reality. Your retirement is now in your control, not your employer's. That's actually the opportunity, if you know how to use it. The Federal Reserve says the median retirement account balance for people aged 55 to 64 is $185,000. Sounds like a lot of people are behind. But here's what that number hides. 40% have nothing, which drags the median way down. The people who are saving, many of them have enough. The divide isn't about luck, it's about 3 specific actions.
One of those actions, a single Social Security decision, can add more than $100,000 to your lifetime income. If you've saved anything, even if it's not $185,000, you're not starting from zero. That's where the first strategy comes in. Strategy number 1 people use, maximizing tax-advantaged space. For 2025, you can contribute up to $23,000 to a 401k. If you're 50 or older, add another $7,500 in catch-up contributions. That's $30,500 total. Even if you can only do $10,000 per year, historically, over 30 years at a 7% average return, that would mean about $1 million. And if your employer offers any match at all, even 3%, that's immediate value. You're getting a 50% to 100% instant return on that portion. That alone beats most investments. Can't max it out? That's okay. Even $500 a month for 20 years at 7%. Historically, that gives you about $260,000. Not $2 million, but combined with the next 2 strategies, the math works. Strategy number 2 people use, delaying Social Security. Most people don't know this, but for every year you wait past your full retirement age, your benefit increases by 8% per year until age 70. That's a government-backed annual increase, 8% compounded. Full retirement age is 67 if you were born in 1960 or later. So if your benefit at 67 is $2,000 per month, claiming at 70 instead gives you $2,480 per month, an extra $5,760 per year. Over 20 years, that's $115,000 more. You spend 3 years living off your 401k, but you buy yourself an extra $115,000 in government-backed lifetime income. That's the Social Security decision I mentioned earlier, and now you see the math. But there's one more layer to this that most people miss. Strategy number 3, the 4% rule. In 1998, 3 researchers published a study that tested historical withdrawal rates going back to 1926. They found that withdrawing 4% of your portfolio in year 1, then adjusting that dollar amount for inflation each year, gave you a 95% historical success rate over 30-year retirements. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results, but that's nearly a century of varied conditions.
The study tested portfolios with 50 to 75% stocks. The 4% rule held up through the Great Depression, World War II, the stagflation of the 1970s, the dot-com crash, the 2008 financial crisis, and the 2020 pandemic. And here's why these 3 work together. Your math. If you need $36,000 per year from your portfolio after Social Security covers the rest, multiply that by 25. That's $900,000. Not $2 million, not $5 million, $900,000. And that assumes a historically conservative 60% stock, 40% bond portfolio that averaged 9.1% annually from 1926 to 2023. What does this look like if you're 50 and starting late?
You have 15 years until 65. If you max out your 401k with catch-up contributions, that's $30,500 per year, at 7% return, historically, that would mean about $760,000. Using the 4% rule, that's $30,400 per year. Add Social Security of roughly $24,000, and you're at $54,400 annual income. Not quite $60,000, but you could work part-time for a few years or adjust expenses slightly. The math suggests starting sooner helps. So now you have the framework. How do you explore it? I'm not managing your money or giving you personal advice. That's a conversation for a licensed advisor who knows your full situation. But here's what the data shows. Questions worth discussing with that advisor.
Question 1 to ask yourself or your advisor: what's your current 401k or IRA contribution rate? If it's below 15%, some advisors suggest gradually increasing contributions. That's worth discussing with a professional. Even 1% more per year adds up over time. Question 2. What's your target retirement number? The formula: take your annual expenses, subtract your expected Social Security, then multiply that number by 25. That's the target the 4% rule suggests. Question 3. What does your Social Security projection show? You can review your statement at ssa.gov/myaccount. See what your benefit would be at 62, 67, and 70, then discuss with an advisor whether delaying makes sense for your situation. The mindset shift? Your parents had a pension promise that could be broken. You have control.
You can retire at 62 if you save aggressively, or 70 if you start late. You can adjust your portfolio, move to a lower-cost area, work part-time for a few years. Your parents couldn't do any of that. They were locked in to whatever the company decided. The median retirement savings for people aged 55 to 64 is $185,000. But you're not going to be median because you're here, doing the research, building the plan. That already puts you ahead. You don't need a pension. You never did. The framework is there, and now you know it. If this helped, share it with someone who thinks they're behind. Chances are they're not. They just didn't have the framework. Pensions are gone, but flexibility is here. And that's not a downgrade. It's an upgrade, if you know how to use it.